Ken Waldichuk is looking to add velocity to his slider. Today, we're going to go over why that could have a huge impact on his 2023 season. Let's get into it, you guys. How's it going, A's fans? And welcome to episode 532 of the Locked On A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, noted baseball fan Jason Burke, and on today's show, we're talking about Ken Waldichuk and tunneling. It's gonna be numbers heavy, I will admit that, but I'm going to lay it out for you guys as basically as I can so you can just follow along, and hopefully everybody learns a little bit here. I learned a little bit in writing this, in preparing this episode, so we're going to have some fun with that. And then in the third segment, Scott Osler of the San Francisco Chronicle, he wrote something, and we are going to dump all over it. So that's what we got coming up for you guys today. But before we get into anything, thank you so much for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. If you're on YouTube, that's one of the platforms that we are available on. Make sure to hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are trying to get to 1,000 subs by opening day. We're about 150 short currently, but every video we gain a bunch of followers. So just keep doing what you're doing. And if you could help, by commenting down below, giving us a thumbs up. That helps the YouTube algorithm find other A's fans, other baseball fans like yourself. So if you like what you're seeing here, comment down below. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You just say, wow, that guy's super handsome. That's all. Comment that. That'd be great. People do it all the time. It's wonderful. Thank you to everybody who does that. Also, make sure to follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm @JasonB on Twitter. Check out Inside the A's for more A's news, insight, and analysis coming your way whenever A's news happens. It's at Inside the A's. But let's talk about today's subject matter, and that is Ken Waldichuk and his slider. There's good stuff that happens in the Chronicle too, like this piece from Matt Kawahara. He was profiled, not Matt Kawahara. He was not profiled. Ken Waldichuk was profiled by Matt Kawahara, and he said that he wanted to add zip to his breaking pitches. That was a thing that he wanted to do this offseason. He was quoted as saying that he saw some research that at 85 miles an hour, breaking balls tend to play up just a little bit. They play up a lot. And so that was his goal, was to get to 85 miles an hour with his slider. It came in at 81 last year, so he's got to add 4 miles an hour to his slider in order for it to, quote-unquote, play up. We're going to get into a bunch of stats here, but I'm going to tell you, he had a good slider last year. By the numbers, pretty good slider. The goal here is to ultimately get better results on his fastball, which is one way of doing it, is his slider, and that's what we're going to talk. That's why tunneling comes into effect today. We're going to get into all of that. So he wants to improve his fastball numbers because his fastball wasn't great, but he used it 56.5% of the time. And batters hit .311 against it. I think the expected batting average was like .278. It was like high twos. So not a great pitch for him, and he was using it more than half of the time. So he wants to get guys off of his fastball. So obviously he's just going to increase the velocity of his slider. Makes perfect sense. It does. And I'm going to tell you why. That's the podcast for today, you guys. His second most used pitch was that slider. He threw it 21% of the time, and it had a batting average against of 121, which is really good. If you could throw every pitch and it had a 121 batting average against, you're going to do okay. As long as you can locate your pitches, you're going to be doing okay. And it had a whiff rate of 33.9%. Very good pitch. Very nice slider that he had. Waldichuk's fastball sits at 94 miles an hour. That is 60th percentile in fastball velocity. So it was good. It was run-of-the-mill sort of in terms of across baseball, but 94 miles an hour from the left side, not bad. Also, he ranked 94th percentile in extension, which means how far he goes in his windup, how long he can stretch, during his pitch movement, really. And if the further he goes, the quicker a ball gets on a guy in the batter's box. And so it plays up a little bit more if he's ranking high in extension like he does. So you could imagine that that's probably like 95, 96 is what it seems like, even though he's only throwing it 94. Maybe it's only like 94 and a half is what it seems like, but it plays up because he's releasing it closer to the plates. And that's just a little trick that pitchers do. Conversely, his slider was below average in velocity. Actually, all of his other offerings below league average in average velocity. So that's interesting. If he throws, if he throws the fastball 94, everything else is a couple miles per hour slower than league average for those pitches, and that's interesting. So you could see why he wanted to add just a little bit more velocity, just to get up to league average at least. But it came in at 81 miles an hour, and it may sound as though he's just trying to like work on arguably his best pitch so that it impacts another pitch. That could be what it sounds like, but there is more at play here. The reasoning with targeting targeting this velo jump has to be just about limiting the difference in velocity between his fastball and his slider. Because right now, currently, as of last season, it was 13 miles an hour. That's a big difference in fastball and on his slider. And if he gets up to 85 miles an hour with his slider, then it's just a difference of 9 miles per hour. And then hitters would have a harder time discerning which pitch is coming because there's not as big of a difference velocity-wise between those two pitches. And they wouldn't just be able to just sit fastball. So that is one reason why they're doing it. Another reason is tunneling, which we're going to talk about here in the second segment. But this could all just come down to tunneling. And I think that it does come down to tunneling. There's an excellent article that I'm going to run down here in just a minute. But Waldichuk slider had the 11th most horizontal movement in baseball. In theory, if he throws it harder, it may move a little bit less, which could, in fact, have the two pitches lining up down their tunnel. Essentially, tunneling is you want from release point to when it breaks off, you want it to follow the same trajectory up towards the plate as, a different pitch. Fastballs and sliders are a very common one that are used to entwine together and tunnel together. So you get one that's coming up from over here, and then you release the same one from roughly the same area, and then they just go on the same path. If you follow the pitching ninja, when he does like an overlay of two pitches, and you see one dart to the right, one dart to the left, or one dart, down or to the left, that's tunneling. That's essentially what pitching ninja is showing you is tunneling. You just might not know what it is, and by saying that it's like analytics or new age or something like that, then it might be scary, but it's not scary. It is what pitchers do now. When I talked to Mason Miller just a couple of months ago, he's a prospect in the A system, and I was like, yeah, tunneling. I don't know if they're teaching you guys about that. It's like, oh, tunneling, that everybody does tunneling now, and I was like, oh, okay, it is prevalent. So tunneling is prevalent. Today, we're going to teach you guys a little bit about tunneling coming up in the next segment and why it's going to have a huge impact on Ken Waldichuk in 2023 if he can add that velocity to his slider. We are just a few days away from spring training games, and if you're going to be driving to spring training, why not get a little tasty treat for your road trip? And we're talking about Built Bars, my friend. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% chocolate. That's right, real chocolate, and they come in just unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how they do it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they are healthy for you. So if you're on your way to spring training and you're looking for something chocolatey and delicious and also good for you, you got 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein in this Built Bar. And now you don't even need to wait around. If you're leaving for spring training tomorrow, you don't have to wait around for a box and it'll be there when you get home. No. You can go over to a Walmart today and you can walk into the pharmacy section, grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. Or if you're closer to a Sam's Club, you can run in and grab a 13-bar box with their hit flavors, brownie batter and churro. You can thank me later. Welcome back to the Locked On A's podcast. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. Follow us on social media at Locked On A's on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at @JasonB on Twitter. Check out Inside the A's for more A's news, insight, and analysis coming your way whenever A's news happens. It's at Inside the A's or the URL si.com/MLB/athletics. Also, I said that I would give some shout outs to people that comment on YouTube pages or the YouTube shows, and the other one that I wanted to call out. This is my shout out for Tommy Cargyle, is what I'm gonna say his name is, for the YouTube comment, saying that great video as always, and thank you to Tommy Cargyle for the wonderful comment. They make me smile. Keep them coming, you guys, and I will shout you guys out on future episodes if you do nice things like Tommy over here. But let's talk a little bit more about effective tunneling, and this is mostly pulling from a piece on Prospects Live that was published in August. The article, the author of the article is actually up for a SABR award now. So for, analytics and SABR analytics, they're up for an award now. So you know that they're doing something well. I think it's for this piece too. So they're on to something, and it's what makes tunneling effective. What pitches make tunneling effective when used in unison. So we're going to get into that just a little bit. In the article, they say that a slider fastball combo, which is what we're talking about with Ken Waldichuk here, needs two of these three attributes to have an effective tunnel. Because if you go and they're not in these, then you could be. They're not syncing up is what you're going for. I don't know what that hand thing that I just did was, but they're not syncing up. And for a tunnel, you want them to be in sync. You want them to be following the same trajectory towards home plate. That is the goal of tunneling, is to kind of to deceive the hitter into thinking, not knowing what's coming and not being able to just make an adjustment because they don't have enough time to make that adjustment. That's what tunneling is. So they need, Ken Waldichuk or any pitcher needs two of these three things to happen in order to have an effective tunnel. Either between 6 and 14 inches of horizontal separation. So however much it's moving on the horizontal axis, it needs to be moving between 6 and 14 inches between those two pitches. Or 8 and 16 inches on the vertical axis, which it was... phrase is something else, but vertical roughly. And then only 6 to 11 miles per hour of separation. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But Waldichuk had 17.8 inches of horizontal break, and his fastball had 10.5 inches of horizontal break. That is a 7.3 inch separation between those two pitches, which falls very well in line between the 6 and 14 inches of horizontal separation that he needs for an effective tunnel. So he has one. He has one of the three. He doesn't have the vertical. I didn't write it down. He's not close to vertical, so he doesn't have that one. But vertical, if you're going to miss one, I'd say miss vertical, because that one will just be, it's fine. Ken's fastball set at 94 miles an hour, as we already said. And his slider averaged 81. Do a little bit of quick math. That is a 13 mile an hour difference. And the goal is between 6 and 11 miles per hour. You could see why he wants to add a little bit of velocity to his slider, is so that he can have a more effective tunnel, and maybe his slider gets hit a little bit better. But oh man, that fastball is going to play up a whole lot more if he's having an effective tunnel on his pitches, just combining those two. And that's enough to get me very excited about Ken Waldichuk. Is, oh, he's going to have a good tunnel? Super on board with Ken Waldichuk in 2023. I love it. There's also this little bit here okay, so here it is. Sorry. I read something else. I was like, oh, do I need to read this? No, I don't. So, quote, research found that ideally a pitcher has his slider no more than 10.5 miles per hour slower than the fastball. So actually, he needs to have like 3 miles per hour in order for this change to really take effect, or 2.5 miles per hour, whatever. So that's really the goal right here, is to add velocity so that his pitches line up. They're more in sync. They have an effective tunnel, so that his tunneling is better, which means that his pitches will be better, which means, well, I mean, his pitches will be the same. They'll just be indiscernible from one another. And then he will be maybe rookie of the year. I don't know. He's going to be great. I'm very excited about this. And great work from Matt Kawahara to say, yeah, he's adding velocity and this is what he's doing. But this is really what is at stake here, is having an effective tunnel day in and day out. Because if those two pitches, that's 70% of his work, 75%. Yeah. 56% and 21%, 77% of his repertoire was those two pitches. If he can have those two being very effective, and then he also has a curveball and a changeup, that's fine. But if he can have those two working well in tandem with one another, I think that he could have a very special season in 2023. It's enough to get me excited. I'm excited about A's baseball all the time, except when Scott Osler writes about him, and we're going to talk about that here in just a second. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scorers and three-pointers drained. I looked at win totals for the A's, and if you think that the A's can win 80 games, it's far-fetched. I know. But they're at plus 25,000 to win 80 games. I say take it. See what happens. Why not? Put $100 down, win $25,000 if the A's win 80 games this season. That is how far-fetched FanDuel thinks it is, and hey, why not? Sure, there's going to be trades. Who cares? I think that I don't know. So FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same game parlays. So don't miss your chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And also, the A's can win 80 games, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, welcome back to the Locked On A's podcast. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to subscribe wherever you like to hear podcasts. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs on YouTube. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please hit subscribe. Also comment down below. Say I'm handsome, or wow, tunneling is a difference maker. Ken Waldichuk, Cy Young. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Give me an A's win total. In the ad break, I said that if the A's win 80 games, then you could win a lot of money on FanDuel. So, do you think that they have any chance at winning 80 games? I think that would be like if everybody takes a huge step forward, and probably not, but maybe. I need to figure out if they can. Anyways, today I just wanted to talk about Scott Osler. Just a little bit. I know he has a shtick, and it's dumping on the A's all the time, but that's not what we're really concerned about here. He does it. He does it all the time. It's his thing. The concern here is that he doesn't do a good job of it, I guess, is my complaint. He basically wrote another one of his pieces. And some people apparently think that this stuff is funny. Maybe it's because it's too ingrained in me. I'm an A's fan and it's not funny, but also the jokes aren't good. They're not funny. Here's setup. This comes as somebody who did stand-up comedy for like 2 months. Setup. The A's are going to be so much fun to watch in 2023. Punchline. Because they're a dumpster fire. LOL. Scott Osler, you kill me. So yeah, that was the premise of this entire article that I read. I'm reading everything that is written these days. So that's not healthy, I don't think, especially with so much being in the news with the ballpark situation. Nothing's really happening. That's why we're not talking about it here. But there's a lot of news just out there in general. But there's also this quote. It says, quote, even if the A's had to change their name due to pressure groups accusing them of not being athletic, they would rebrand as the Unknown Soldiers. End quote. Oh man, Scott Osler, how do you come up with these gems? These are just awful jokes. I don't understand. Who's reading this like for fun? I read it because I need stuff to talk about on the show sometimes. And thanks, Scott. You did me a solid today, is what I'll say. The jokes are just bad and they're tired. Yeah, you don't like the A's. I get it. The A's ownership's bad. These guys are fine. I think that the team might be okay. Are they going to win 80 games? That's for FanDuel to decide. I don't know. But I think they're going to be. I actually clicked on this because I was like, I had a feeling who wrote it before I clicked on it, because it was called Funny Ball. Just another good one. Scott, what a great guy. Funny Ball. What a good headline. He probably didn't write the headline. I'm just going to lump that in on him anyway. You could tell who wrote it just by what it was going to say. And I was like, hey, maybe he's like actually excited about the move that the A's have made. And he's not. He's not at all. Like, not even a little bit. He also did zero research on what the A's have done this offseason, and I think that they might be okay. Maybe, I mean, not like great. I think that they're going to win like 72, 75 games, somewhere in that range. But all of the prognosticators that he quoted, like the experts at MLB.com and Bet at MGM and like all these other, they were like, they have them as the worst team in baseball. I'm like, yeah, well, did they factor into platoons that the A's are going to be using a lot? That Matt Kawahara also kind of wrote about? Somebody at Inside the A's also wrote about that a couple of weeks ago, about how the A's are going to utilize platoons and actually be an okay team. Not a great team, but they're going to be better than people think. And I think that is what is lost on people. But instead, they're like, oh yeah, John Fisher stinks, so let's just make fun of that, I guess. I don't know. It's tired. John Fisher needs to go away. Sell the team, do something. This is a thing that somebody brought to my attention, wanted me to do, and I haven't come up with anything clever, but I think that it would be great, because I still want to support the team. I still love the A's, mainly the players. I don't like ownership or the fact that they might move to Vegas. Those things hurt. But I don't want to like not go to baseball games because of that, because I still. Baseball is a big part of who I am too, and I'm not going to be a Giants fan. That's for sure. So there needs to be a way for A's fans to voice their displeasure with ownership and how we've been treated for a while. And obviously, there's going to be under 10,000 fans at each game. Yeah, well, did you cover the other stuff as to why? Because that's important too. It's because the mistreatment of fans, the biggest contract. Debatable, that John Fisher has given out was 3 years, $30 million to Billy Butler. I know that Chris Davis signed for more, but they traded him a year into it, so didn't actually pay all of it. So Billy Butler is the biggest contract we've had in 15 years of it. No, more than that. Almost 20 years of John Fisher's ownership. So, and also they've traded every player that we've ever fallen in love with. So, there's a lot to be disgruntled about here, and that doesn't get talked about enough. It's just, ha, 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 look at the attendance, and I think that for the few of us that do show up to these games, we should have signs, a slogan of some sort. I don't know what the slogan is, but it something more than sell the team, John, but maybe just 10,000 or, 1,000 people, just because you can't get all 10,000 people to do it. I'm not saying that there's only going to be 1,000 people at the games, to be clear. But say you got 1,000 people that brought a sign and said, sell the team, John. That would be covered for sure. I would write about that at Inside the A's. If you guys want, I'd talk about it here as well. So I feel like we need to band together here and do something. I don't know what, but some sort of signage, I believe, at opening day or another big game. Maybe when the Mets are the Mets, they're going to have a lot of their own fans there. We'll pick a day. It'll be fun. Maybe when there's not that many fans in attendance. When are the Orioles coming to town? Then. That's when it'll happen. But I feel like we need to let John Fisher know. And it's not like he's going to move the team or not, depending on what we do. He's got his own mind made up. He's trying to make a decision for himself. So, line his own pockets with more money for some reason. I don't know. Does he need more money? Probably not. I could use more baseball players, though, John. Anyways, that's all. If you guys have any ideas of what we as A's fans can do to rise up against oppressive ownership, let me know in the comments down below, because that would be very helpful, and I will try and orchestrate something. So that's all that I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Comment down below with a win total, a compliment, or a treatise against ownership, I guess. But that's all that I got for you guys today. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to hopefully be finishing up an article for Inside the A's tonight that I will release, that I'll actually talk about here on the show tomorrow, talking about the comps between Kyle Muller and Madison Bumgarner. What are the differences? What are the similarities? How close is he to actually being Madison Bumgarner, as the coaching staff of the A's kind of said over the weekend? So that's what we're going to be talking about on the next show. So make sure to subscribe for that. Anyways, that's all for me today, guys. So until next time, go out and celebrate good times, A's fans, and I will talk with you tomorrow.